Hello, everyone. This podcast episode is just a little update on where things are with SparkyNinja and all the other adventures that I get up to. So, the podcast. I started the podcast back in February or January or March time, and I put some episodes up, but I wasn't too sure as to where to go with it because I was doing some stuff by myself, and I kind of wanted to get some guests in to make it kind of a better podcast for the electrical industry. And then the boys over at EGTE, they had me as a guest on theirs, and they kind of just ran off with it. And I decided that I didn't need to carry this on because mainly I had other things to get on with, and so the podcast was just another commitment I could go back to later on. But I've had some requests to get the podcast active again, and also upload some of my YouTube episodes as podcasts. So I've done that with the 18th edition. I'm going to do that with the 2396 in the next week. And I'll try to get some more regular content out there. I don't really know how diverse the content will be or if I get many guests on, but we'll see what goes on with it. As for YouTube, if you go to the channel, you'll notice I've not uploaded for about 5 months. I've not given up on YouTube. I've never given up on the idea of making content for YouTube. Unfortunately, I've just been very, very busy. I've been at a time in work where I just can't get the time to create the content I used to make, if that makes sense. The content I would make would take a lot of time to prepare, to revise, to research, hours of research. And I've been doing a lot of that, but I've been doing it mainly with the E5 group, with some of their content, because obviously I'm a founding member of the E5 group, so that's got a lot of my attention as well. That doesn't mean SparkyNinja hasn't been doing anything. Obviously, I've got the social media channels. I've also got Facebook communities as well. So I've been doing so much work on Discord, Facebook, in my many Facebook groups. It just means that drilling out YouTube content hasn't been so much of an obligation or a thing, but it's always been something I wanted to carry on with. So what I've decided to do is I'm carrying on with it. Not a problem. I'm going to have some episodes coming out in the next week or so. And I've got some great supporters for that as well moving forward. I've got some support from Mega. I've had some support from Chauvin Arnoux. I've had some support from Matrel. I've had some support from Linian and all these other companies. And I'm sorry if I haven't mentioned you, but you all provide me with resources or some material, which is great for driving some content in for you guys on the channel. But I will have to start doing some more typical YouTuber content, just like reviews and things, just to reward those who have supported me and also make sure that YouTube knows I'm not dead. The older style of content, the training content, the deep thought and the expansive content will always still be coming, but I'll be making some content kind of just to keep the channel alive in the meantime, in between those episodes. So the channel's going to come back to normal, but it'll be more regular, more consistent, and just more YouTubey, if that makes sense. With SparkyNinja itself, I'm working on the website, SparkyNinja.com, and some people have asked why I'm going to be making the website. Primarily it's to ensure that there is a central place where my content can go in principle. For example, I've obviously got Discord, I've got a great community on there, I've got Facebook, I've got Instagram, I've got Twitter, and I've got all these little channels, and I can get all these little messages and all these conversations. But if I wanted to make a content or a blog or an article on a piece of equipment or a piece of news in the industry, I've got to make some place where it sticks, and then I can reference it out on all these platforms instead of obviously copying it and repeating it. Also with the training itself, I've been giving some free training out on the YouTube channel, but people are still paying for the really rubbish e-learning training, the pay to pass stuff, and they've messaged me to say thanks for my training. It helped them, much more than their training they paid for. And I said, why'd you pay for it? And I said, well, we've got to pay for something. So I thought, well, I can maybe put a purchased version or an enhanced version of the 18th edition and other courses on SparkyNinja.com, which is completely, an up-to-you kind of thing. But if I could do that, then obviously there's a potential revenue stream which will then free me up to then be able to do more and more support. And that's actually where I want to go with the project, really, is to be as freely available to support electricians and learners and apprentices as much as I can. Again, I've got a wife and 4 kids. I'm the only, bringer of monies into the house, so I'm a full-time trainer working for other companies, a little bit for myself in the meantime, and I'm kind of doing SparkyNinja as a hobby. And I want to get to the point where I can kind of say, right, well, no, SparkyNinja can actually support my family, and I can then put all of my time and effort into it, and then I can support the industry even more. So that's where I'm hoping I can go to, but if people don't want to obviously switch to purchasing training instead of going to other places, that's up to them. I'm not going to be pushing it. I'm not going to be forcing it. I'm going to just try and support everybody. I'll also be going back to doing some streams. I've got some plan to do some streams very, very soon. What I have done is I've moved my location, my recording location, into a new office. I've got a dedicated office, more space, white walls. You'll probably notice that with the content when it starts to go out there. So that's obviously taken a bit of time. Plus, I've invested some money into just better resources, cameras and microphones, and even, you know, audio cues and things like this. Trying to just make the content more professional, but also more consistent. I think consistency was the key. I'd also like to just briefly mention E5. I'm doing a lot of work with E5. I'm about to head down to Coventry LX. Going to have some great time and chat with the guys. Do be sure to check out E5's communities and E5's YouTube channel. We're making some big changes, and we're actually raising a lot of levels and standards, and just making a lot of companies in the industry become a lot more transparent and open, which is really, really good. Really, really insightful, and in the best interest for everybody. Okay, well, I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover here. I'm about to get into the car and head down to Coventry. I'm going to spend the next couple of days at LX walking around, talking to probably yourself if you listen to this right now. I've got some stickers and some stuff to swap around with you guys, because I know you like to kind of get some freebies and stuff. So if you come up to me, just say, yeah, you got any stickers? I'll see if I've got some left. I've got handfuls of those. And who knows, my email keeps going off. But yeah, see you soon. Just thought I'd update you on where things are. Things are going to start becoming a lot more regular now that I've got things set up and I'm getting the support that I needed to get some of these resources out there. See you soon. Bye bye.